Owen Bradley counted bandages in the supply closet, checking each shelf against the inventory list on his datapad. Medical stations always ran through supplies faster than anyone expected. Frontier outposts like this one saw everything from mining accidents to strange alien illnesses that textbooks had never covered. He made a note to order more antiseptic gel. Behind him, Ren backed away from the ventilation grate near the floor. The young nurse's skin changed from pale blue to mottled gray, and the chemical receptors along his neck flared wide. His species could smell things humans never noticed, and right now those receptors were screaming danger. "What is it?" Owen asked, setting down the datapad. Ren pointed at the grate with a webbed hand. "Something wrong. Smell is bad. Predator smell." Before Owen could respond, the medical bay doors slid open. A technician stumbled through, clutching her arm. Blood soaked through her uniform sleeve, and her face had gone pale with shock. Owen and Ren rushed to her immediately, guiding her to the nearest bed. "What happened?" Owen asked, carefully peeling back the torn fabric. "Something attacked me," she gasped. "In cargo processing. I was checking the new shipment containers and something jumped out. Small, fast. It scratched me and ran into the vents before I could see it properly. The wounds were deep, 4 parallel cuts running from her elbow to her wrist." Owen cleaned them while Ren prepared antibiotics. The technician's hands shook as she described the creature. Dark fur, maybe the size of a small dog, moving too quickly to identify clearly. Within an hour, 2 more crew members arrived at the medical bay with similar injuries. One had scratches across his shoulder. The other had bite marks on his leg that had already started to swell. Owen noticed something troubling about all 3 wounds. They showed signs of infection, spreading faster than normal. The tissue around each injury had turned an angry red, and the patients complained of burning sensations that grew worse by the minute. Dr. Nalara emerged from her office, all 4 arms moving in agitation. The Satrathi medical director's compound eyes swept across the injured crew members, and her antennae twitched with concern. She called an emergency meeting for all medical staff. The conference room filled quickly. Owen sat beside Ren while Dr. Nalara activated the main display screen. Security footage appeared, showing shadowy shapes moving through the station's lower levels. The creatures were hard to see clearly, darting between crates and disappearing into ventilation shafts. But their movements seemed coordinated, like they were working together. "We have a serious situation," Dr. Nalara announced. Her voice remained steady, but Owen noticed how her smaller pair of arms kept clenching and unclenching. 3 crew members injured. Aggressive organisms loose on the station, and these wounds are infected with something our standard treatments are not stopping. The head of security stood up. "How many creatures are we dealing with?" "At least 20 based on the footage. They are using the ventilation system to move throughout the station." Owen studied the screen more carefully. The creatures moved in groups, never alone. When one paused, the others waited. When one changed direction, they all followed. That suggested intelligence, cooperation. He leaned forward, watching how they held their bodies low, tails tucked, ears flat against their heads. "They might be acting defensively," Owen said. The room went quiet. Dr. Nalara turned to look at him, her antennae sweeping in his direction. "Defensive?" she repeated. "They have attacked 3 people. I know, but look at their body language. See how they move. They are not hunting. They are avoiding open spaces, sticking to shadows, running away from people. When that technician surprised one in cargo processing, it scratched her and ran. It did not press the attack." Dr. Nalara's primary arms crossed over her chest. "That is your human interpretation. My species recognizes predator behavior, and these creatures match every pattern. They move in packs. They have claws and teeth. They attack when encountered. Or when they are cornered," Owen suggested gently. "The bacterial infections are getting worse," interrupted the station's chief physician, a tall being covered in feathery scales. 2 patients are now in critical condition. We need to eliminate these creatures before more people are hurt." Dr. Nalara made a clicking sound that indicated agreement among her people. "Security will begin fumigation of the affected sectors. We cannot risk the entire station for unknown organisms." Owen felt his chest tighten. "How long before the fumigation starts?" 6 hours. That gives us time to evacuate the areas and seal them properly." After the meeting ended, Owen returned to check on the patients. The infections were spreading despite the antibiotics. The woman who had been attacked first was now running a fever, and her arm had swollen to twice its normal size. Whatever bacteria these creatures carried, it was aggressive and resistant to standard treatment. Ren found Owen in the patient ward an hour later. "You really think they are not dangerous?" "I think they might be scared. And when animals are scared, they defend themselves. That does not make them evil or aggressive by nature. It makes them frightened." Dr. Nilara will not listen. Her species evolved as prey animals. She sees these creatures and her instincts tell her they are hunters. She cannot help it. Owen looked at the security footage again on his personal datapad. He zoomed in on one creature that had paused near a cargo container. Its sides were heaving like it was breathing hard. When a worker approached, the creature did not attack. It flattened itself against the floor and tried to make itself smaller. Invisible. Only when the worker reached toward it did it lash out. "We have 6 hours," Owen said quietly. 6 hours to prove these are not monsters. They are just scared animals far from home. Ren's receptors fluttered uncertainly. "And if you are wrong?" Owen did not have an answer for that. He only knew that something in those shadows was frightened and hurt, and every instinct he had learned from years of rescue work told him that fear was more dangerous than any claw or tooth. If they could calm that fear, maybe nobody else had to get hurt. Maybe those creatures did not have to die, but first he had to find them, and he had to do it before the fumigation system turned those ventilation shafts into a tomb. Sleep refused to come. Owen stared at the ceiling of his quarters, listening to the station's ventilation system hum through the walls. Somewhere in those metal tunnels, creatures were hiding, sick and afraid. In 6 hours, poison gas would flood those passages and kill everything inside them. He threw off his blanket and dressed quickly. The research terminal room sat empty at this hour. Most of the station slept during the night cycle except for essential staff. Owen logged into the xenobiology database and began searching. He entered every detail he could remember from the security footage. Small mammalian body structure, pack behavior, fur pattern, approximate size. The database offered hundreds of possibilities, but none matched exactly. Cannot sleep either. Owen turned to find Ren standing in the doorway. The young nurse carried 2 containers of something that smelled vaguely like mint. "Brought you drink. Humans like this flavor, yes?" "Thanks." Owen accepted the container and took a sip. It tasted like mint mixed with citrus, oddly refreshing. "I keep thinking we are missing something obvious." Ren settled into the chair beside him. Dr. Nilara ordered fumigation. When she makes decision, she does not change mind. Then we need to give her a reason to change it. Evidence she cannot ignore. Owen switched screens to the station's cargo records. These creatures came from somewhere. They did not just appear. Let's find out where. They worked through the manifest together. The station received supply shipments 3 times a week from various sources. Mining operations, research facilities, colony worlds. Owen filtered the records by date, focusing on shipments that arrived in the days before the first attack. "Here," Ren said, pointing at an entry. "Cargo from Tertian system. Unmapped moon. Mining survey brought back samples." Owen pulled up the details. The shipment included geological cores, mineral samples, and habitat analysis equipment. The manifest noted that several containers had experienced temperature regulation failures during transport. The cargo bay supervisor had logged a complaint about it. "Temperature failures," Owen said. "What if these creatures were in those containers? What if they are cold-blooded or sensitive to temperature changes? Would explain why they hide in ventilation system. Looking for warm places." Owen felt pieces clicking together in his mind. "We need to see that cargo bay." Dr. Nilara said all personnel should avoid lower levels. I know what she said. Owen stood up, downloading the cargo manifest to his datapad. "But in 5 hours those creatures die. I cannot let that happen without at least trying to understand what they are." Ren's receptors fluttered with anxiety, but he stood as well. "I will go with you." "You are terrible at reading chemical signatures. You will walk right into danger without knowing." They took the maintenance lifts down to the cargo levels. The lights had been dimmed to conserve power in sections under lockdown. Their footsteps echoed on the metal grating. Owen carried a medical scanner and a flashlight. Ren brought his natural ability to sense chemical traces in the air. Cargo Bay 7 sat at the end of a long corridor. The door controls still worked, sliding open when Owen entered his medical override code. Inside, containers stood stacked 3 high, creating artificial walls and narrow passages. The temperature had dropped noticeably, several degrees below standard station atmosphere. "Smell is strong here," Ren whispered. "They are close." Owen moved slowly between the containers, scanning for movement. His breath formed small clouds in the cold air. Then he saw it huddled in the corner behind a damaged crate, one of the creatures. Up close, it looked different than the security footage suggested. Its fur was matted and patchy, with bare spots showing irritated skin underneath. The creature's sides heaved with labored breathing, and its eyes had a glazed, feverish quality. When it noticed Owen and Ren, it did not attack. Instead, it curled into a tight ball and made a high-pitched sound, almost like a whimper. "It is sick," Owen said softly. He knelt down slowly, making no sudden movements. The creature watched him with those fever-bright eyes, trembling. Owen could see swelling around its front leg and an open wound on its shoulder, crusted with dried blood and infection. "Look at this," he told Ren. "These wounds are old. Days old, maybe longer. The infection is making it aggressive, not its nature." Ren scanned the creature with his medical tricorder. The readings made his receptors flatten against his neck. "Massive systemic infection. Temperature is too high. This creature is dying." The whimpering sound grew louder. Owen realized it was not just one cry. It was many. 3 more creatures appeared from behind other containers, drawn by their companions' distress. They approached cautiously, bodies low to the ground. When they saw Owen and Ren, they froze. Everyone stood perfectly still. Owen could hear his own heartbeat pounding in his ears. These were not the vicious predators Dr. Nalara feared. They were a pack of sick, frightened beings trapped far from home in a cold metal box. Then the cargo bay door slid shut behind them with a heavy clang. The locking mechanism engaged with a series of clicks. Owen spun around and ran to the door controls. Locked, sealed from the outside. He pressed his comm badge. "This is Owen Bradley. Ren and I are locked in Cargo Bay 7. I know where you are." Dr. Nalara's voice came through, tight with controlled anger. "You violated direct orders. You put yourself and Ren in danger with hostile organisms. They are not hostile. They are sick. Please just look at the medical scans Ren is sending you." A long pause followed. Owen watched the creatures watching him. The largest one, the first he had seen, took a tentative step closer. Its leg dragged, clearly injured. When it reached Owen, it did not bite or scratch. It simply collapsed at his feet, too exhausted and ill to continue standing. Owen knelt beside it, placing a gentle hand on its matted fur. The creature's breathing came in ragged gasps. Its fever burned through its body, and Owen could feel the heat even through his gloves. "Dr. Nalara," Owen said quietly into his comm, "these are not predators. They are patients. They need help, not extermination, please. You became a doctor to save lives. That includes these lives." The comm stayed silent. The creatures gathered around their fallen packmate, touching it gently with their noses, making soft sounds of distress. Owen looked at Ren, who stared back with wide eyes. "We are trapped," Ren said unnecessarily. Owen nodded, but he had the medical scanner. He had basic supplies in his kit, and he had something else. The memory of every frightened animal he had ever helped back on Earth. He opened his medical bag and pulled out antiseptic and bandages. "Then we start treating them here. If we are going to convince anyone these creatures deserve to live, we need to prove they can be helped. Get me those antibiotics from the wall locker over there." Ren hesitated only a moment before moving. The cargo bay's emergency medical locker held basic supplies for worker injuries. Together, they began the work of healing what everyone else saw as monsters. Owen's hands moved with practiced efficiency, cleaning the infected wound on the creature's shoulder. The animal flinched but did not pull away. Around them, 3 other creatures watched every movement with intense focus. Ren mixed antibiotics with water, preparing injections from the emergency supplies. "This is insane," Ren muttered, but his hands stayed steady. "We are treating organisms that Dr. Nalara wants eliminated." "We are treating patients," Owen corrected. He irrigated the wound with saline solution, washing away pus and dead tissue. The infection ran deep, and the creature had clearly been suffering for days. Whatever these beings are, they are sick and in pain. That makes them our responsibility. The largest creature, the one Owen had mentally named Scout, lay still while Owen worked. Its fever made it too weak to resist even if it wanted to. Owen could feel its rapid heartbeat through its ribcage, fluttering like a trapped bird. After cleaning the wound, Owen applied antibiotic gel and wrapped it with clean bandages. The creature's breathing seemed to ease slightly, though it kept its eyes closed. Ren administered a broad-spectrum antibiotic injection, calculated for the creature's estimated body mass. "One down," Owen said. "How many more?" As if in answer, a soft chittering sound echoed from behind a stack of containers. 2 more creatures emerged, moving slowly. One limped heavily, favoring its back leg. The other had scratches across its face that had begun to fester. Owen spoke in a low, calm voice. "It is okay. We want to help. Come on." The creatures did not understand his words, but they understood his tone. They understood that their packmate, Scout, had been touched by these strange beings and was now resting quietly instead of fighting or running. Pack animals learned from watching. If one member trusted, others would follow. The limping creature approached first. Owen extended his hand slowly, letting it sniff his fingers. The creature's nose worked rapidly, taking in his scent. After a moment, it allowed Owen to examine its injured leg. A deep cut ran along the muscle, infected and swollen. Owen cleaned it as gently as he could while Ren prepared another injection. Hours passed in focused work. Owen and Ren treated 6 creatures in total, each suffering from various wounds and infections. The work was slow, careful, and exhausting. But something changed in the cargo bay during those hours. The creatures stopped seeing Owen and Ren as threats. They began bringing their injured to the 2 medics, guiding packmates who were too sick to walk on their own. Scout recovered enough to sit up, watching the humans work. When a smaller creature, barely more than a juvenile, showed fear of approaching, Scout made a soft burbling sound and touched the young one with its nose. The juvenile crept forward and let Owen examine a nasty bite wound on its tail. "They have social structure," Ren observed. "Complex communication. Look how Scout leads them. This is not simple animal behavior." Owen nodded, wrapping the juvenile's tail with careful precision. "They are more than animals. I think they might be intelligent. Early-stage sapient, maybe. That changes everything. Only if we can prove it." Ren moved to one of the cargo containers and began examining its contents. Mineral samples, soil cores, geological equipment from the mining survey. He picked up one of the soil samples, studying it through the clear container. "Look at this. The soil contains mineral compounds we do not have in our medical supplies. What if these creatures need something from their native environment?" Owen joined him, scanning the soil sample. Their homeworld chemistry. If they are sick because they are missing something essential from their planet, then treating the infection alone will not be enough. We need to reintroduce compounds from their home. They worked together, carefully opening soil sample containers and analyzing the contents. Ren's chemical detection abilities proved invaluable, identifying specific mineral traces. Owen mixed small amounts with water, creating a supplemental solution. Scout watched this new activity with interest. When Owen brought the solution close, the creature sniffed it eagerly and began drinking without hesitation. Its reaction spoke volumes. This was something familiar, something its body recognized and needed. Owen offered the solution to the other creatures. They drank it quickly, almost desperately. Within an hour, their breathing eased further. Fevers began dropping. The antibiotics could now work properly, supported by the minerals their systems required. "It is working," Ren said, checking his scanner readings. "The bacterial infections are responding. Their immune systems are starting to function again." Owen allowed himself a moment of relief. Then his comm badge chimed. Dr. Nilara's voice came through, and this time she sounded different. Not angry, but uncertain. "I have been watching through the bay's security camera. What you are doing should not be possible. Those creatures should be attacking you." "They never wanted to attack anyone," Owen replied. "They just wanted to survive. They are sick, scared, and far from home, just like any patient would be." A long pause followed. Through the cargo bay's observation window, Owen saw movement. Dr. Nilara stood there, all 4 arms pressed against the glass, her compound eyes fixed on the scene below, watching Scout groom the juvenile creature with careful attention, watching the pack rest peacefully near the 2 medical staff who had helped them. "My people were prey animals," Dr. Nilara said quietly through the comm. "For millions of years, creatures that looked like these hunted us. When I see them, every instinct in my body screams danger. My hearts race. My vision narrows. I cannot help it, I know," Owen said, "but I am also a doctor, and I am watching you treat patients that I condemned to death. I am watching them trust you because you saw what I could not see past my fear." The cargo bay door unlocked with a soft click. Dr. Nilara's voice came through again, steadier now. "I am coming down there alone. If you are right, if these beings can be helped, then I need to see it for myself." I need to face my fear and look at the evidence. Owen glanced at Ren, who looked equally surprised. Are you sure? No, but being sure is not always possible in medicine. Sometimes we must act despite our fear, not without it. The cargo bay door slid open. Dr. Nilara entered slowly, her body language screaming tension. Every step seemed to take enormous effort. Owen stood and moved between her and the creatures, giving her space, acting as a buffer. Scout raised its head, watching the new arrival. The creature's nose worked, analyzing this new scent. Dr. Nilara stopped several meters away, her smaller pair of arms trembling visibly. They are watching me, she said. They are curious, not aggressive. Look at Scout's body language.
Ears up, not flat.
Tail relaxed, not tucked. It is wary but not frightened. Dr. Nilara's compound eyes tracked every movement. She was seeing what Owen saw now, reading behavior instead of just reacting to appearance. The creatures looked dangerous. They had claws and teeth. They moved like predators, but their actions spoke of something else entirely. Community, care, intelligence. Show me the medical data, Dr. Nilara said. Everything you have discovered. Ren projected the medical scans onto his datapad, showing Dr. Nilara the progression of treatment. The numbers told a story that words could not capture. Bacterial counts dropping, immune responses stabilizing, fever curves returning to normal ranges. Dr. Nilara's antennae twitched as she processed the data, her medical training fighting against millions of years of evolutionary instinct. The infection strain, she said slowly, it matches organisms found in soil samples from their homeworld. This bacteria is actually symbiotic in their native environment. But in the station's sterile conditions without the right minerals and compounds, it became pathogenic, Owen finished. They are not carrying a plague. They are suffering from environmental displacement. Scout made a soft sound and rose unsteadily to its feet. Dr. Nilara took an involuntary step backward, her smaller arms drawing close to her body. The creature moved toward her with careful, deliberate steps. Not aggressive, not hunting, just approaching. It is coming closer, Dr. Nilara's voice held barely controlled panic. Stay calm, breathe. Scout can smell your fear, but it is choosing to approach anyway. That is significant. Owen kept his voice low and steady. Hold out one of your hands. Let it see you are not a threat. My species does not reach out to predators. We run, we hide. You are not on your homeworld, and Scout is not the hunter your ancestors feared. Trust the data. Trust what you are seeing. Dr. Nilara's primary right arm trembled as she extended it. Her hand shook visibly. Scout paused just out of reach, studying this new being with intelligent eyes. The creature's nose worked rapidly, processing scents. Then, in a movement that seemed to last forever, Scout took one more step and touched its nose to Dr. Nilara's palm. The contact lasted only a second before Scout pulled back. But in that brief moment, something fundamental shifted. Dr. Nilara stared at her hand, all four arms slowly relaxing. Her breathing steadied. It was warm, she said quietly. Soft, not like I imagined. Fear makes monsters of things that are not monsters at all, Owen said. Dr. Nilara knelt down, bringing herself closer to Scout's level. The creature watched her with interest. Up close, she could see the intelligence in its eyes, the way it held itself with awareness and purpose. This was not a mindless beast. This was a being, a person, trapped in a form her instincts taught her to fear. You said they might be sapient, Dr. Nilara said. What evidence supports this? Ren pulled up additional footage on his datapad. Watch this. Recorded 2 hours ago. The video showed one of the creatures using a piece of metal to scratch marks on the floor of the cargo bay. The marks formed patterns, repeating symbols that resembled some of the geological markers from the mining survey equipment. They recognize written symbols, Ren explained. They are trying to communicate, trying to tell us something about their home. Dr. Nilara's compound eyes widened. This meets the threshold for emerging sapience. Tool use, symbol recognition, complex social structures. They are not animals. They are people. The cargo bay door suddenly slid open again. Commander Tavik entered, flanked by 2 security officers. The Brannick commander stood nearly 7 feet tall, his scaled body radiating authority and barely contained frustration. His eyes swept across the scene, taking in the medical equipment, the treated creatures, and his medical director kneeling beside one of the organisms marked for extermination. Dr. Nilara, What is the meaning of this? His voice carried the weight of someone accustomed to absolute obedience. The fumigation is scheduled in 3 hours. You are in a sealed contamination zone with hostile organisms. Dr. Nalara stood, placing herself between Commander Tavik and the creatures. All 4 of her arms spread slightly, a protective gesture Owen had never seen her use before. These are not hostile organisms, Commander. They are patients, and they may be sapient beings. Commander Tavik's facial scales darkened, a sign of anger in his species. Sapient? They are animals from an unmapped moon. They have injured 3 crew members. 2 are still in critical condition with infections we cannot fully control. Because we were treating the wrong source, Owen interjected. The crew infections came from bacteria these creatures carry, yes, but the bacteria only became dangerous because the creatures themselves are sick. Treat them, and the bacteria returns to its natural, harmless state. We have already proven this works. You have proven nothing except your willingness to violate direct orders. Commander Tavik pulled up his own datapad, showing station-wide sensor readings. The infection rate among crew is increasing. 4 more cases reported in the past hour. This situation is escalating beyond the medical bay's capacity to handle. Dr. Nalara accessed her medical files, sharing them to the commander's datapad. Look at the progression data from the creatures we have treated. Their bacterial loads have dropped by 80%. The infections are responding to treatment. If we treat all the creatures, the risk to the crew disappears. If you are wrong, this infection could spread beyond our station. The colony worlds could be affected. We are talking about thousands of potential casualties. Commander Tavik's voice remained level, but Owen heard the strain beneath it. This was not a cruel being making a cruel choice. This was a leader weighing the lives of many against the lives of a few. I understand your position, Owen said. You have to think about the greater good. But consider this. What if we make the wrong choice? What if we exterminate intelligent beings because we are afraid? Because we do not understand them? The galaxy is not built on what-ifs. It is built on protocols and procedures that keep people safe. The galaxy is built on choices, Owen countered. Every species that achieved spaceflight had to make a choice at some point. See the other as people or see them as threats. Every time we choose fear over understanding, we lose something important. Commander Tavik looked at the creatures gathered around Scout. They watched the confrontation with clear interest, staying close together, protecting their young. Their behavior showed organization, awareness, concern for each other. You want me to risk my station, my crew, on the possibility that these creatures are worth saving? I want you to give us 24 hours, Dr. Nalara said. 24 hours to treat all the creatures, to control the infections, and to prove they can coexist safely with the crew. If we fail, if even 1 more crew member is injured by them, then you proceed with extermination. But if we succeed, you contact the Galactic Council about first contact protocols. The silence stretched long. Commander Tavik studied the data, considered the arguments, weighed the risks. His career, perhaps his life, depended on making the right decision. But what was right when both choices carried such weight? Finally, he spoke. 24 hours. But the moment there is another incident, another injury, another sign this situation is deteriorating, the fumigation proceeds immediately. No delays, no exceptions. Understood, Dr. Nalara said. Commander Tavik turned to leave, then paused. Doctor, I hope you are right. For everyone's sake. After he left, Owen released a breath he had not realized he was holding. 24 hours. It seemed like both too much time and not enough. 16 hours had passed since Commander Tavik granted them time. The medical bay had transformed into a coordination center. Dr. Nalara worked at the main terminal, directing treatment protocols for both the creatures and the infected crew members. Ren managed supply distribution, ensuring every medical team had access to the mineral supplements and adjusted antibiotic formulas. Owen moved between patient groups, monitoring progress, offering guidance. The human crew members showed remarkable improvement. Their infections responded well to the new treatment approach that targeted the bacteria's altered behavior in station environments. Fevers dropped. Inflammation decreased. The 2 critical cases had stabilized enough to move from intensive care to regular monitoring. The creatures responded even better. 12 had been located and treated successfully. They no longer hid in ventilation shafts but gathered in the cargo bay, which had been converted into a temporary habitat. Scout led the group, maintaining order, keeping the younger ones calm. But 8 creatures remained missing, 8 potential carriers of infection, 8 beings that could injure crew members if cornered or frightened, 8 reasons for Commander Tavik to terminate the entire project. Owen studied the station schematic on his datapad. Where would they hide? We have checked all the main ventilation routes. There are maintenance tunnels, Wren suggested, below cargo processing. Old sections from when station was first built. Not many people go down there. Then that is where we go. Dr. Nilara looked up from her terminal. Owen, those tunnels are unstable. They have been scheduled for renovation for 2 years. We have 8 hours left. If we cannot find those last creatures and treat them, this all fails. I will go with you, Wren said. No. Dr. Nilara's voice carried authority. Wren is needed here to coordinate treatment monitoring. I will accompany Owen. Owen started to protest, but Dr. Nilara raised one hand. I faced my fear earlier. I cannot allow it to limit me now. These creatures need help, and I am a doctor. That responsibility supersedes my comfort. They descended into the maintenance level together, following narrow corridors lit by emergency lighting. The tunnel smelled of old metal and recycled air. Their footsteps echoed strangely, bouncing off curved walls. Owen carried a medical kit and a handheld scanner. Dr. Nilara brought additional supplies in a bag slung across her shoulders. Why did you become a doctor? Owen asked as they walked. Because my species understands fear intimately. We evolved knowing that death could come from any shadow. That fear taught us to value life, to protect it, to study it. Medicine became our way of fighting back against the universe's indifference. That is beautiful. It is also ironic. My calling to preserve life nearly led me to extinguish it. They found the first 2 creatures in a junction chamber where pipes converged. Both were juveniles huddled together for warmth. Their breathing came in labored gasps, and neither had the strength to run when Owen and Dr. Nilara approached. Owen treated them while Dr. Nilara monitored their vital signs. Her hand steady despite the fear that must still lurk beneath her calm exterior. 6 more, Owen said, carefully administering antibiotic injections. They continued deeper. The tunnels grew narrower, more cramped. Twice they had to crawl through sections where ceiling collapses had reduced clearance to less than a meter. Dr. Nilara's compound eyes gave her better vision in the dim light. And she spotted traces the creatures had left behind. Scratch marks on walls. Tufts of fur caught on sharp edges. Finally, in a dead-end maintenance shaft, they found the remaining 6 creatures. But something was wrong. 5 of them surrounded the 6th, which lay motionless on the floor. The group turned as Owen and Dr. Nilara approached, positioning themselves between the 2 medics and their fallen companion. Owen recognized the behavior immediately. Protective, defensive. Not for themselves, but for their packmate. Easy, he said softly. We are here to help. The creatures did not move. They knew these 2 now, had watched Scout return healthy after being with them. But fear and desperation made them unpredictable. The fallen creature twitched weakly, making a sound so quiet Owen barely heard it. Dr. Nilara knelt slowly, making herself smaller and less threatening. She pulled out the mineral supplement solution and placed it on the ground between them and the creatures. Then she backed away several steps. The creatures watched, uncertain. Finally, one broke formation and approached the container. It sniffed carefully, then began drinking. The others followed, leaving their fallen companion protected but exposed enough for Owen to see the problem. This creature was in severe distress. Its fever had reached dangerous levels, and an infected wound on its back leg had begun showing signs of sepsis. Without immediate treatment, it would die within hours. Owen moved forward slowly, speaking in that same calm tone he had used throughout this crisis. I know you are scared. I know you want to protect your friend. But I can help. Please, let me help. The creatures parted reluctantly. Owen reached the dying animal and began working immediately. He cleaned the wound, noting how the infection had spread to surrounding tissue. Dr. Nilara assisted, her 4 hands making quick work of preparing medications and organizing equipment. This one is worse than the others, Dr. Nilara observed. Much worse. This is probably the one crew members encountered in the first attacks. It was already sick when it arrived on the station, and stress made everything worse. They worked in tense silence, racing against sepsis and organ failure. The other creatures watched, making soft sounds among themselves. Pack animals understood when one of their own faced death. They understood vigil. Owen administered intravenous fluids, antibiotics, anti-inflammatory medication. He monitored heart rate, breathing, temperature. Minutes stretched into an hour. Dr. Nilara held the creature steady while Owen debrided dead tissue from the wound. The animal barely responded, too weak even to flinch. "Come on," Owen whispered. "Stay with us. Your family is here. They need you." The creature's breathing stuttered, paused, then resumed. Its eyes fluttered open briefly, unfocused but aware. Owen checked the scanner readings. The fever was breaking. The antibiotics were working. The creature was going to survive. Around them, the other creatures seemed to sense the change. Their anxious sounds became softer, more hopeful. One touched its nose to the sick one's head, a gesture of comfort and connection. "We did it," Dr. Nilara said quietly. "All accounted for. All treated." Owen checked his chronometer. 4 hours remained before the deadline. They needed to get these creatures back to the cargo bay, continue monitoring all the patients, and hope nothing went wrong in the final stretch. As if summoned by that thought, Owen's comm badge chimed. Commander Tavik's voice came through, tight with stress. "Medical emergency. One of the crew members just collapsed in the dining hall. He is showing signs of the infection, but he claims he never encountered the creatures." Owen's heart sank. A new infection. A new victim. The one thing that would terminate their entire effort and doom the creatures to extermination. Owen ran through the corridors with Dr. Nilara close behind. The 6 treated creatures followed, moving slowly but determined to return to their pack. Every second counted now. One new infection case could destroy everything they had accomplished. The dining hall had been cleared of personnel. The sick crew member, a young engineer named Peter, lay on the floor where he had collapsed. Medical staff surrounded him, running scans, checking vitals. His skin had taken on the same flushed appearance as the previous infection victims, and his breathing came in sharp, painful gasps. Commander Tavik stood nearby, his expression grim. "Explain this, Doctor. All the creatures are accounted for and treated, yet we have a new infection case. How is this possible?" Owen knelt beside Peter, scanning him quickly. The bacterial markers matched the previous infections, but something felt wrong. The progression was too fast, too aggressive. Peter should not be this sick this quickly unless... "When did symptoms start?" Owen asked. One of Peter's friends answered. "About an hour ago. He said he felt tired at lunch, then developed a headache. 10 minutes ago he just collapsed." Owen checked Peter's medical history on his datapad. Recent health records, past injuries, routine checkups. Then he found it. A notation from 3 days ago. Peter had cut his hand on a piece of mining equipment while helping unload cargo. The same cargo shipment that brought the creatures. "Dr. Nilara, look at this." Owen showed her the medical record. He was exposed to the bacteria days ago, directly from contaminated equipment. The infection was already incubating in his system before we even knew the creatures were on the station. Dr. Nilara examined Peter more closely. "You are correct. This infection is more advanced, more established. He was patient 0, not a new case." Commander Tavik's scales lightened slightly. "So this does not represent a new outbreak?" "No, sir. This is a case we missed because the exposure happened before we connected the creatures to the infections, but the treatment protocol we developed should work the same way." Owen prepared an injection of the adjusted antibiotic formula combined with mineral supplements. Peter received treatment immediately. Within minutes, his breathing eased. The fever that had spiked so dangerously began to drop. Dr. Nilara monitored his progress while Owen sent a station-wide medical alert, requesting that anyone who had handled cargo from the Tertian system mining operation report for screening. 2 more crew members came forward, both showing early symptoms that were caught and treated before becoming serious. 3 hours before the deadline, Owen stood in the cargo bay watching the creatures rest together. All 20 had been accounted for, treated, and stabilized. The pack had reunited, with Scout maintaining watch over the group. The juvenile creatures played carefully in one corner while the adults groomed each other, reinforcing social bonds. Dr. Nilara entered the bay carrying a data tablet. "All crew infection cases are responding well to treatment. No new exposures. The bacterial threat is contained." "What happens to them now?" Owen asked, gesturing to the creatures. "That decision belongs to Commander Tavik and the Galactic Council, but I have submitted my medical report including evidence of emerging sapience. These are not animals. They are people. That changes the legal and ethical framework entirely. Commander Tavik himself appeared shortly after, accompanied by several officers. He studied the creatures with an expression that revealed nothing. The pack noticed him, gathering closer together but not fleeing. They had learned that the strange tall beings could be trusted, at least sometimes. "Your report makes disturbing reading, Doctor," the commander said. "Disturbing because it forces me to confront an uncomfortable possibility. We almost exterminated intelligent beings out of fear." "Fear is not weakness," Dr. Nalara replied. "Fear kept my species alive for millions of years. But intelligence means recognizing when fear leads us toward wrong choices." Commander Tavik nodded slowly. "I am authorizing a diplomatic science vessel to return these creatures to their home world. The Galactic Council will establish a monitoring outpost to study them and, if your theory proves correct, to facilitate first contact protocols as they develop." Owen felt relief wash over him. They get to go home, they do, and they take with them medical supplies, environmental analysis equipment, and educational materials. If they are sapient, then they deserve the same opportunities other species received when they were discovered. Scout approached the group, moving with confidence now that its health had been restored. The creature studied Commander Tavik with intelligent eyes, then made a soft sound that seemed almost questioning. "I think it is asking about something," Wren observed. He had entered quietly, carrying final medical supply inventories. Owen knelt down, letting Scout approach him. The creature touched his hand gently, the same gesture it had used with Dr. Nalara. Then it turned and made a series of clicks and chirps to the other creatures. The pack responded, gathering in a loose formation. They approached the group of station personnel together, and one by one touched their noses to outstretched hands. A moment of connection, a shared understanding that transcended language. "They are saying goodbye," Dr. Nalara said softly, "and thank you." 2 weeks later, Owen received a transmission from the science vessel assigned to the Tertian moon. The creatures had been returned safely to their home. The pack had reunited with a larger community of their kind, thriving in their natural environment. Early observations confirmed what Owen had suspected. These beings used tools, maintained complex social structures, created symbolic art, and showed clear evidence of emerging technological understanding. The transmission included video footage. The scientists had set up cameras near the creature's main habitat. Owen watched as the pack moved through their territory, hunting, gathering, caring for young. And then he saw something that made him smile. On the walls of a cave painted in natural pigments were new images, figures that looked unmistakably like humans, standing beside the pack. The creatures had recorded what happened. They were telling their story, creating a shared history. Dr. Nalara joined Owen in the observation room, watching the same footage. "They remember us. They remember being helped when they were frightened and sick." "First contact," Owen said. "Just not the way anyone expected. The galaxy has thousands of species, millions of worlds. How many others are out there, waiting to be understood instead of feared?" Owen thought about Scout, about the moment the creature chose to trust despite its fear, about Dr. Nalara overcoming millions of years of instinct to see patients instead of predators, about Commander Tavik choosing understanding over expedience. "Maybe that is what makes us special," Owen said. "Not just humans, but any species that learns to see past the fear. We look at something dangerous and ask why. We see aggression and wonder if it is really just pain. We encounter the unknown and choose to understand before we judge." Dr. Nalara's antennae swept forward in agreement. The human phrase is apt, "do no harm." It applies beyond medicine, to exploration, to first contact, to everything we do among the stars. On the screen, Scout led the pack toward a water source, stopping occasionally to check that all members kept up. The creatures moved with purpose, with coordination, with care for each other. People building a life on their home world, free and healthy and whole. Owen updated the station's medical database with a final note on the case. He titled it simply, "When Fear Gives Way to Understanding." The entry detailed everything they had learned, every mistake made, every lesson earned. Future medical staff would read it. Future first contact teams would reference it. The knowledge would spread, because that was how civilizations grew. Not by conquering fear, but by acknowledging it and choosing to act with compassion anyway. Not by eliminating the different, but by learning to see the person beneath the unfamiliar form. Scout's pack was not dangerous. They had just been scared, And in the end, that made all the difference.